Welcome back, everybody, to the Fretboard Journal podcast. I'm your host, Jason Verlinde. We're celebrating our 20th year of the Fretboard Journal. I know it's impossible for me to fathom, and I can't thank you all enough for being a part of this journey. Every week on this show, we talk to somebody fascinating from the world of fretted instruments. And every few months with the Fretboard Journal print magazine, we really do a deep dive with some of our favorite artists and luthiers and take beautiful photography of their collections and their workspaces. And we just have so much fun with long-form journalism and print. If you haven't joined us yet, go to fretboardjournal.com, click on the subscribe button. You can add the current issue, which is our 57th issue with Joni Mitchell's green guitar on the cover if you want. It makes for a great gift, and we would love for you to help power all that we do here at the Fretboard Journal. We are a very small operation in Seattle, Washington, but for 20 years now, we've been interviewing our favorite people. And today on the show, I'm interviewing one of my new favorite people, Ben Garnett. Ben is a musician from Texas who just put out this cool record called Kites Keep. Even if you do not know Ben, you may know some of the people Ben had on his record, including Daryl Langer and Chris Eldridge and Paul Coward and Brittany Haas. It's an incredible progressive bluegrass album, and Ben's story is unlike any I've ever heard. Ben was a tuba player in Texas, who then stumbled upon the fact that one of his relatives was Andy Timmons. Now, if you don't know who Andy Timmons is, incredible guitarist. Andy was on that pedal show, the UK-based YouTube pedal show. Go see that, because Andy is really one of the most emotive electric guitar players around. If you want a little context for who Ben and I are talking about when we're talking about Andy, that's a great primer. And then listen to this interview that Ben and I do on Kites Keep. It's a great record. It's available now on all the streaming platforms. And it's just super fun to share the story of a musician that I think may not be on your radar yet, but probably will be for a long, long time to come. If you love the Punch Brothers, if you love progressive bluegrass, I can't recommend this record enough. Go check it out. And the only other big news I have here is that 2 days ago, we turned on the switch for selling 3-day passes to the 2026 Fretboard Summit. So if you want to join us at what I think is the coolest guitar gathering around, it's taking place August 20th to 22nd in Chicago at the Old Town School of Folk Music in 2026. It is our 3-day festival of all of our favorite people from the world of guitars, all of our favorite brands, and it's just a magical, magical gathering. If you haven't been yet, this is your chance. Sign up. We've got discounted 3-day passes from now until the end of the year, I believe, and I'd love to see some of you there. This podcast is sponsored, as always, by our friends at Peghead Nation. If you want to become a better bluegrass player, if you want to be a little bit like Ben or Chris Eldridge, head on over there. They have so many incredible classes that you can take from the comfort of your home. Their platform is super intuitive and super easy to use. There's tab you can download. It's one of my favorite places in the world to go visit. And if you use the discount code Fretboard, you will save $20 off of an annual subscription or get your first month free. So go do that. We are also brought to you by Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar here in Seattle, Washington, one of my absolute favorite guitar stores. They have a constantly evolving, rotating inventory of cool acoustics and electrics and synths, and you name it. Head on over to mmguitarbar.com, tell them the Fretboard Journal sent you. And with all of that out of the way, here is my conversation with Ben Garnett. I hope you enjoy it. Ben, welcome.
Thanks, Jason.
So you have a record that is out. By the time this comes out, it'll be out. Kites Keep. It features some familiar names to people who've listened to the Fretboard Journal or read our pages. Many of the Punch Brothers are in there, at least some of them. And I want to talk about that. But before we get to the new record, let's hear about your background, where you grew up. I'm assuming bluegrass music was a big part of your life, and then you've taken it in all these different directions, but maybe I'm wrong. So tell me.
I guess, yeah, sort of wrong. Although at this point, bluegrass has been a big part of my life for the last 8 or so years. But yeah, so I grew up in Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I guess, yeah, started playing guitar when I was 12, although that was one of several musical things I was doing. I was also playing tuba in my school band, and I was taking some piano lessons too. Yeah, so, I started on electric guitar, actually. I started as a kind of a rock player. I mean, it was interesting because I was learning how to read music and sort of how to fit inside like an orchestral setting with the tuba stuff I was doing. But my guitar teacher didn't really read music or have like a formal background in music. And so he was just showing me how to learn songs by ear. And so it always felt like the guitar was kind of like occupying this other, a different aspect of music understanding, and, a different way to understand how to make music and play it. And then so my dad, around the time when I started playing guitar, he informed me that I had a cousin of his and mine who is kind of a well-known rock guitar player, and his name is Andy Timmons.
Yeah.
And do you know Andy?
Well, I know of him. Yeah. I don't think I've ever spoken to him, but
yeah. So he, just like, I think one of the best rock guitar players out there. He writes his own music. He was Olivia Newton-John's musical director for many years and played in like hair metal bands in the 80s, and has kind of, since he made a few records under Steve Vai's label called Favored Nations.
Yeah.
And there's one in particular that came out, I think in 2004, that just kind of changed my life. And, as soon as I heard that kind of instrumental rock guitar music, in the vein of Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, and that kind of lit the fire, I guess. And it really did something for me. So and then I also, he lived in McKinney, Texas, which is about maybe an hour north of where I grew up in Arlington. So I kind of had, I had access to him at a young age, and it was really beautiful. And, my dad would drive me up to his house and we'd jam. I hadn't been playing that long at that point, but he was very generous and just really, gracious with his time and energy. And so that I feel like that relationship kind of just continued as a thread. Even, I went to jazz school at the University of North Texas in Denton, and
for guitar.
For guitar, exactly.
Okay, so did meeting Andy kind of squeeze out the tuba?
Yeah, basically. I don't know. I guess because I was pretty serious about playing tuba, and all the way up until like the end of high school, I was like section leader and all that. I guess I ultimately, I was also pretty serious about piano too. I actually auditioned on piano at North Texas as well, as kind of a classical piano major, and got in fact. But I don't know, guitar, it just felt like I could do the most. It just felt like it had the most possibilities available to me, just being a guitar major there. And also I had started taking jazz lessons from the professor there by the time I was a sophomore in high school. Great, amazing guitar teacher named Fred Hamilton. And so I don't know, just with Andy and just, I don't know, guitar just kind of felt right in the end. And so pursued that. But still all, like electric until that point. It was jazz guitar, had kind of taken over most of my life by the time I was 18, 19. But still definitely kind of like wanted to pursue this rock. Yeah, I was playing in cover bands and country bands and stuff. And had a lot of different avenues of which I could be a guitar player. And then college came, and then, like maybe halfway through my time there, discovered like Punch Brothers and discovered Julian Lage and discovered Chris Eldridge. And and for some reason, that world of music it struck me as able to kind of put together all these different influences different ways of playing music and approaching music that I just hadn't heard until that point, and it felt very like I could sync up a lot of the different things I had in my background, whether it's playing like in an ensemble, playing the tuba, or whether it's playing, kind of more song driven music, like the way Andy kind of writes his instrumental songs, but then also like kind of the modern jazz language I was learning about going to jazz school. And but it did this in this very, like the way that string band music so beautifully does. It does it in this really like practical kind of, portable way. Like you can play music wherever you are. It just really, really appealed to me. And,
do you remember what the gateway was? Like how you found one of them? Like
right. It's probably just, a bunch of my friends were really, Julian was kind of part of this like crew of modern jazz guitar players that we were all kind of into. But I remember, the Avalon record came out. Yeah. I guess that was 2014. So I was like, in college at that point. And it just, it was amazing. It's just like, you can do that. you can put together like, really old, beautiful songs and like mind blowing kind of improvisational stuff with like dense compositional material. I don't know. Just putting all those elements together in one package. It felt so deep and forward looking and just all these things that I had been craving for a long time. So.
I mean, wow. I mean, we're talking in 2025. So in the span of basically a decade, you went from learning about the Punch Brothers and being inspired by them and to take up acoustic guitar to now you're playing with some of them on your second record.
I know. It's kind of crazy just how quickly things, I guess, fell into place
So when you got obsessed, did you have a good acoustic guitar? Was that like the first step? Was like, I've got to find a tool for this?
Basically, yeah. So there's a guitar store in McKinney, Texas, where Andy is living, and called the Guitar Sanctuary. And I got like a kind of newer Martin there, a 0018, that kind of same guitar that Julian played, and that was kind of, there wasn't real. I mean, actually, now that I've moved to Nashville and just gotten to be a part of the bluegrass community more, I've realized that there actually is this really great community bluegrass community in Texas. But at the time, I just was completely ignorant of it, and I was sort of, I found some jazz musicians that were curious about acoustic music and fiddle tunes and things like that, and I found people to play with and was able to, just exercise those muscles and kind of pursue those interests. But it wasn't until I really moved to Nashville that I started playing with some serious acoustic players and bluegrass musicians and all that.
So when you're you're still in Texas and you're kind of getting hooked on acoustic, this sort of modern vanguard acoustic music. Yeah. You buy this guitar. Are you just woodshedding in your apartment trying to figure it out? Are you like, how does one go, or did it come easy for you, I guess, from the jazz world to enter bluegrass?
I don't, I mean, it definitely didn't come super easy, although, I don't know, like I said, what drew me to the music was that it, merged all these things, it's hard to even describe exactly what those things are, but just immerse them in what I felt like to be a fairly natural, it felt synchronized with the ways that I've like wanted to merge things in my life. And I also felt like, and then it's sort of in a way, like I've just the way that I touch the guitar, play the guitar, it's always kind of seemed like I've leaned towards more of an acoustic sensibility, even though I played electric guitar for a long time. Whether it's just really being attracted to the sounds of open strings and like kind of the harmonics and like cool gooey things that are just the sounds that the vintage Martins have when, you play a cool chord or something. Like I love that. I felt like I was always like kind of wanting that on the electric guitar, and I could never get it in the same way that I did playing acoustic. So So I don't know. I guess, I mean, it's still an ongoing journey to learn the tradition of string band music and to assimilate it in the way I know how to and how I want to. And so it's, yeah.
And was the plan, did you graduate? And was the plan like, I'm going to Nashville right after graduation?
Basically, yeah. So I graduated, and the year after I graduated, I was able to go to this incredible camp, like music camp, called the Acoustic Music Seminar that Mike Marshall hosts, or used to host every year. I'm not sure if it's still happening. I don't think it is. But it was insane. It was, Mike Marshall was running it. Julian was on the faculty. Brian Sutton was on the faculty. Aoife was on the faculty. Aoife O'Donovan. And I think the guests they had that year were, Edgar Meyer came and gave like a lecture, and him and Mike Marshall played a duo performance. Sarah Jaros was, so it's tied to the Savannah Music Festival. So all these musicians were playing as part of the festival, and then they would come to the camp and talk to the participants. And that's basically where I got to meet everybody. And not only the faculty actually, but many, like almost all of, so there were 16 participants that year. I want to say like 80% of those people are like, I'm very close to at this point. It just like going to that, I just met all these people, and now they're like very integral to my life and all these ways. And so that was a major, that's actually where I met Critter, because him and Julian played a set at the Savannah Music Festival that year. And and I think when I think about it, I think it was Sutton who, we somehow got to talking about, where if I were to move, where would it be? And, what I should do for my next step or something. And he just threw out the idea of me moving to Nashville, and, just said, there could be a lot of opportunity there. And, just to put that bee in my bonnet, I guess. And, and then I did it. I moved to Nashville. It was, so that acoustic music seminar happened in April. And then I moved to Nashville in September of 2017.
So I'm guessing even at this camp relatively early in your acoustic journey, you showed enough promise that people are telling you to Sutton,
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But it was so, that was like one of the peak musical experiences of my life. And I know like many of my friends who have gone to that share that sentiment. So
what do you think made it? I mean, you mentioned, you rattled off all the instructors who are all incredible. Like, what do you think made that? Was it just the fact that it was so small?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it was pretty, 16 participants and then just a handful of instructors. I don't know. It was so like anything goes, like, because the way it was formatted was there'd be 2 sessions a day. Everyone was expected to bring in, I think, 2 pieces, 2 songs of theirs or, whatever. And the instructors would essentially act as a producer for the session, that day. And then you perform it after maybe a couple hours of rehearsing it. And at the end of the week, there was a big concert that shows, like, I guess, kind of the best of the various sessions that happened that week. But yeah, just, like me having this, I brought in kind of this weird string quartet plus guitar arrangement of a jazz standard that I've been working on. And that was the very first session I did. And Julian was teaching it, or was guiding it. And, Julian's just so masterful with how he teaches and how he's able to kind of get inside your brain a little bit and, kind of helps you examine, certain, I don't know, tendencies you have that might actually wind up limiting what you're able to do or what you're doing. And he's kind of able to unravel that in such a beautiful and, kind of intense way at times. It was definitely, there was some like intense moments with everybody there, but it was life-changing. It was just so life-changing.
What was the jazz standard?
What is this thing called Love? Great Cole Porter tune. And just weird reharm. It's actually a very kind of revised version of it. It made it onto my first record that Critter produced. And it sounds a little bit different than what I brought into the acoustic music seminar, but
So I'm just curious because it seems so overwhelmingly scary. Like you moved to Nashville, a city still, I know it's changed a lot, but it's still teeming with all the heavy hitters of guitar for the most part, or a lot of them. What are your first inroads into like finding a community there? Was it folks from the camp or,
Yeah. Yes. And then also I got a job with Missy Raines, great bass player and singer-songwriter, about a week after I moved to Nashville.
Is that all through word of mouth, or I missed it? It wasn't a Craigslist posting.
No, it was through word of mouth, and and it was kind of wild because I had driven to IBMA, the International Bluegrass Music Association conference in Raleigh that year, just to go. It was kind of like me and it was two other friends, and we didn't have any tickets or passes or anything. We were just like, well, let's just go. And it was while I was at IBMA, I just got an email from her, and she's obviously very involved in IBMA, and so I knew she was there. And anyway, so we met up in her hotel room and played a couple songs, and she was like, would you be interested in playing with me in October and see how it goes from there? And I've been playing with her for, since I've lived here. So 8 years or so.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Did you upgrade the Martin, or are you still playing that?
Yeah, I did. That was my first guitar though. I was playing a lot when I first moved to town, but no, I got a Husson Dalton Dreadnought. I want to say it's like, I'm not going to remember the exact model, but it was Oliver Craven's guitar, and Oliver is a great guitar player and musician. I think he's touring with Sierra Farrell right now. And he used to play in a band called the Straybirds, and that was the guitar that he played in that band. I think actually they all played in that band, Maya DeVitri as well. And so that guitar had seen a good bit of road, was road worn for sure. By the time I got it. So it felt really good, just it resonated in a certain way. And even though it's not that old, I think it's only like 15 years old or so, but it was played a lot. So anyway, so I got that guitar from him, and that's kind of been my main just Dreadnought guitar that I play with Missy and just other things that I'm doing. But for my albums though, I feel very, very lucky. Critter is just, he has a very large collection of amazing instruments, and will occasionally let me borrow a few really great guitars. And I got to play, a couple of my first record, and then 2 on this last record. And that's, really special. And I love those guitars too.
How does, obviously Nashville, there's like music happening around every bend, but I'm assuming the life of a musician is like largely solitary. When I hear the new record and the first record, the new record's called Kites Keep, for anyone listening who wants to go check it out. You said the word tapestry, I think, and like there's just a lot going on. But I'm assuming all the core of all these compositions is like you with your guitar sitting in your room, coming up with something. Like, what does that actually look like? What does the actual arrangement process look like from you, the band leader's perspective?
Right. Well, amazing question. It really depends on the song. And some songs come, like you said, I just have a guitar and I'm voice memoing them, and just the basic core of it is just that. Other things, I guess I like to be open to just different ways you can write something or kind of manifest something. So, sometimes just writing it on piano kind of takes me out of just usual guitaristic patterns or things that I can see it in a different way if I'm writing it on piano, for instance. But then, some songs, like there's kind of a weird song on Kite's Keep where I actually wrote it in kind of this weird way where I improvised for 15 minutes straight. But it wasn't just a regular improv session. It was where I would play long tones. I would play like one note at a time and just kind of following my ear throughout that entire time frame. And then after I would do that, I would speed up what I recorded to like 400, 500%. So it turned this 15-minute thing into like a maybe 2-minute thing. And then I would warp the transients in the Pro Tools session or whatever. And then you can place them on different parts of the metric grid. And I had kind of this groove in mind. I wanted a kind of halftime bluegrassy, funky thing. and then I would just, kind of just mess around with different rhythms or whatever. But, just having it be my ultimately my melodic trajectory. And I felt like there was an intention there, but then I would get myself out of the usual, whatever, just tendencies by just visualizing it on a grid or whatever. And so it gave me phrasing and rhythms that I would have never come across otherwise. So anyways, I mean, that's just one kind of fun thing, but a lot of it's writing it down on sheet music or using Finale as a tool to realize an arrangement, or because a lot of what I'm writing is for strings. I'm writing for fiddle and I'm writing for bass, and I'm thinking about how those instruments are kind of expanding what the guitar is doing, or I'm accompanying them in some way. So yeah, I like to have as much of a expansive compositional palette as possible, but then it ultimately does come down to just playing it with these musicians.
Yeah.
That's of the utmost importance, because the last thing I want is something to sound rigid or sound like, people are reading something. It has to have this casualness. It has to sound lived in.
What was the track that they started out with the computer hijinks?
Oh, it's called Tell Me About You, with Daryl Anger playing fiddle and Ethan. And just kind of an odd phrasing or odd rhythm.
Is that an exercise you heard about, doing the long notes and speeding it up? Or
probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I to tell you the truth, I can't remember where I got that from. It was
if you're quick with the computer, it sounds like a super fun way to work out new material. Totally.
Well, I love, anything that can, I don't know, that kind of marries your sensibilities and intentions as a composer with, kind of tools that can help expand that or can help lead you down a path that you wouldn't have otherwise gone down. So, I don't know. I love it all. And just, if it works, it works. And, if you play with the people and it sounds great and and it's fun to play, then I don't ask questions.
So by the time Daryl Anger and Brittany and Critter and all these great musicians come into the studio or to rehearse, I know you said you don't want them to read, but do they pretty much have the music in front of them, or?
They do, but it's been pretty well rehearsed until, at that point, I would say. but the other thing about those musicians in particular is that they're such masterful interpreters, and so that's kind of an important reason why I got those musicians in particular, I would say, is because they're so powerful with how they are able to take something that you give them and, give it a new life and a new kind of, embodiment. And that's, and it's just beautiful the way that those people in particular do it with this music, I think.
What are the big differences between the first album and Kites Keep in terms of your where you're at musically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, kind of everything. Not everything. So it's my first record, Imitation Fields, Chris Eldridge produced.
Yeah.
And we made that over COVID, basically. It was a COVID record. And it's my first record. So all the just...
It's a good first record.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's, I think just with all first time, just being an artist and you're experimenting and you're wanting things to be really good and there's kind of a precious energy about all of it. And, so it took a long time ultimately to get the ideas, kind of arranged in the way that they are. And then just working with Critter was kind of such a mentorship relationship. And, that was a big thing. And, so, and I felt like just things on my first record were just so in some ways wide open, like when I first approached Critter and he agreed to do it, like we kind of like went through just almost anything or everything that I had written until that point that I felt was just coherent enough to share with him. And then he'd pick, and he was like, I think these are the ones that sound the most like you, or that I think would be the most showing of what you do, or, that kind of thing. So, whereas this record, Kites Keep, is self-produced. I produced it. And it was, I guess a lot more intentional in a certain way. I basically come up with the track listing before we even got into the studio. So we were recorded in order, or almost in order, of what the track listing is. And, but I'd also been playing the songs live with just various trios in Nashville as well, which was a huge thing, which wasn't the case for my first record. My first record was kind of everything manifested and came together in the studio and afterwards as well, like in post-production and things like that.
Where in Nashville can one hear this music?
There's a few places.
There are?
I'm trying to think, like where did we play? There's a cool little art gallery on the west side in Nashville called Random Sample, and kind of like a experimental music place. But and actually, they just built a brand new venue, and it's pretty great now. Like the acoustics sound really good in there, and Brittany Haas and I just played a duo show there a couple weeks ago, and like where can you hear weird acoustic music? I guess we played there a handful of times. There's a place called Vinyl Tap in East Nashville we played at. I'm spacing on some of the other.
No, it's interesting to me because I was thinking about this record and, obviously the Punch Brothers can play a lot of bluegrass festivals. Some of them probably wouldn't want, oddly, the Punch Brothers, but you play all these with Missy all the time, I'm sure. And it's sort of got to be a little bit of a conundrum because it's almost like chamber music as much as it is bluegrass. Totally.
Yep. Yeah. So it's, depending on the venue, or just a lot of venues are kind of crossed off the list because there's just, acoustic music's so delicate and you have to kind of have the right place to feel like you're, presenting it in the way that you want to. In Nashville, it's growing all the time, and there's just more and more cool musicians moving here, and I don't know, it just feels like the creative music scene and like the open-mindedness that people have just seems to be growing. The longer I live here, it just seems like it's becoming more and more of an open place.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
You were saying before I cut you off that you had worked on all these songs at various venues and even had like the sequencing down, which is kind of remarkable. So how long did it take you to record and where did you record?
Yeah. Well, we recorded at a place called the Parlor Studio on Music Row, and it's mostly this guy Lawson White records there, and Lawson is just incredible engineer, and he has a cool. He's also a musician in addition to being an engineer. He plays percussion and has played with a bunch of really cool just bands and people over the years. And yeah, so I knew I wanted him to engineer it because I just having his sensibility, someone who's in the songwriter world, but then also you play with this band called So Percussion for a long time. So kind of in the new music, classical world as well. And yeah, so we recorded in his studio and I think we had 5 days. So, comfortable. I like to be, I do want to try like for future records to like not be as comfortable because I just hear all these stories about amazing records being made in like a day,
sure,
or 2 days. Just like all the ECM records were all like only 1 day or 2 days. So that's definitely a goal, but I don't know. I like to have the ease of like 2 songs a day. Let's really make sure we're getting this right. Let's make sure we're, everyone's feeling good about their parts and, solos and stuff like that. So, I think it contributes to a more collaborative atmosphere or something. I feel like I have to be less the like director on set, when there's just more time and space for people to offer up ideas and try things out.
Are you able to play this album live with yeah, you got it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. We have a tour, and it's my first tour as a band leader, which will be real fun. I have a album release show, which will be all the original personnel who play on the record. Actually, unfortunately minus Daryl. He's going to be playing with Bruce Molsky around that time. So so Brittany, Ethan, Jojevitz, Critter will be playing. Actually, him and Kristen Andreasen, his wife, and who's an amazing songwriter. They have been playing some duo shows, I think, recently, and they're going to be opening the show in addition to him playing on some of the songs that he played on the record. And that'll be really fun. And then I have like a week in October. That's basically all East Coast tour dates. And then another week in November, that's also East Coast, but more northern East Coast. So, yeah.
Super cool. Where do you see all this going? Like you're a fresh voice in this world and you're maybe because you aren't tied to sort of the bluegrass roots, as we just learned, like, you come from the world of jazz and classical and probably a million other influences we never even talked about. But like, where do you want it to go? Like what's album 3 in your head look like if you've thought of it?
It's kind of already underway in a lot of ways. Where do I see it going? I try not to think too far in the future, just in general.
It's a good goal.
I don't know. It's just because life is so undulating and like you can never predict it. So I don't try to bother myself too much with thinking about that, but it's a good question. And at this point I feel very connected to the bluegrass world and just all the people that I've met being on the road with Missy all these years and the festivals that we've played, the camps that we've taught at. So that's a huge part of my life and community. And so I feel, a part of that and getting to make music with that, with with that community in mind is something that's very important to me. And so I definitely want to foster that as much as I can and continue that as much as I can. But I'm also I'm really interested in all these intersections and just especially seeing the history of the players. I don't know, like Daryl, like Edgar Meyer, like Jerry Douglas, like Sam Bush, like, all these people that have made string band music work for them. They don't feel beholden to something. They're able to be masters and, obviously, be beholden to enough things that they're like, really feel like they're a part of the community, but they're really, they're making things work for them and just making music that feels the most natural and cathartic for them. So I guess, just following the steps of my heroes, I guess, is all I really want to do. That's what really, I guess, inspires me ultimately. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Julian, and obviously it begs the question, like, do you ever think you'll play more electric and kind of use that instrument as a tool the way you have the acoustic?
Totally. I mean, yes, I would love to. But I don't know. I love, I was just talking about this actually with somebody else, but, there's something about playing acoustic music or being an acoustic guitar player and having that be informed by, I guess an electric background that in a way that just feels like more exciting to me or something. Like, because with my records, I definitely like to have a hand in a certain amount of post-production or kind of augmenting certain things in the way that I think are, electric guitar players, that's something that comes natural to them. And so, I just, right now I find it really exciting to be an acoustic guitar player and to play string band music in all these ways. So, but definitely, electric guitar, I love electric guitar, and I would love to, I was actually thinking about maybe the third album having some layerings or, different, maybe more electric guitar oriented songs or whatever, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. I could see you borrowing one of Andy's pedal boards and going crazy with it and making some magic.
Totally.
What does he think of all this? Do you still go back and forth with him?
A little bit, actually. We just had a catch-up session. It was like a couple of weeks ago. He's, incredibly supportive. Just sent me I sent him the record, and he sent me a really sweet text in response to it. And he's just, I think, he's such a, or I think, one of the greatest things I ever learned from Andy was just how to be honest, I guess, or, how to be just emotionally authentic in the best way you know how to. And I think if music, if you can tell that music is coming from that place, he's sold, or like, he's into it, and so it's, it's special to continue a relationship with him, even though I've kind of gone in this other direction. But yeah.
So you mentioned some tour dates, and then playing with Missy all the time, probably.
Yeah, well, although we have a couple more shows this year, and then a few on the books for next. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other shows or things we should know about, projects?
Right. Not really. Yeah. Just, this new record coming out, new tour coming up. And just hopefully more of that in 2026.
Okay. Well, Ben, thank you. The record's fantastic. I need to, it's one of those records I feel like I need to listen to it alone with headphones and really hear all the layers, because there's a lot going on.
Thank you.
In a very cool way.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was my conversation with Ben Garnett. Again, the album is called Kites Keep. Go check it out. And thanks as always for tuning in to the Fretboard Journal podcast. If you love the show, head on over to Apple Podcasts and please, please, please leave us a 5-star review. We would love it.